Imagine this. The world's most critical energy artery is suddenly just severed. I don't mean slowed down or restricted. I mean cut. Clean off. Overnight, a global crisis gets triggered. Supply chains just freeze up, and the entire global economy is thrown into absolute chaos. Now, that's not some hypothetical scenario. It's exactly what went down on March 2nd, 2026.
And look, that's not just some wild exaggeration. Those are the actual words of Amin Nasser, the CEO of Saudi Aramco, the biggest oil company on the planet. When a guy like that calls something the biggest crisis the industry has ever faced, you know we're in serious trouble. The world definitely listens.
20%. Just let that number sink in for a second. That single number is everything right now. It represents the share of the entire world's daily oil supply that used to flow through one single, narrow body of water, the Strait of Hormuz. We're talking about a choke point so critical, its closure puts the entire global economy right on the edge.
So that brings us right to the heart of the matter for this explainer. What actually happens when a lifeline like this is cut? What are the real-world consequences, and is there any possible way to turn the tap back on? Okay, so what we're looking at here isn't just one crisis. No, it's a compounding disaster. One thing piling on top of another, all unfolding in real time. This is a situation the world has just never had to deal with before. All right, so first, a little bit of context is probably helpful. The Strait of Hormuz, think of it as the main superhighway connecting massive oil and gas producers in the Persian Gulf. We're talking Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, to, well, everybody else. On March 2nd, 2026, that highway was shut down, and the shockwaves went through the entire global system.
And here's what makes this crisis totally unprecedented. It's not just one problem. At the exact same time the Strait of Hormuz was closed, Houthi militants started up their attacks again in the Red Sea. So for the first time in modern history, both of the Middle East's most vital sea lanes are blocked. There's just no easy way in or out. This double blockade immediately kicked off a cascade of failures. It's like a global domino effect that's being felt in pretty much every corner of the world.
The financial pain was, well, it was immediate. Oil prices just shot up to over $120 a barrel. Then you had Qatar Energy declaring force majeure. That's basically a legal notice saying some unforeseeable event means they can't deliver on their contracts. And poof, just like that, 20% of the world's LNG supply basically vanished. At the same time, countries like Iraq and Kuwait, who have no other way to get their oil out, they literally started running out of space to store the stuff and had to shut down their fields.
But just as the crisis seemed to be totally spiraling out of control, something pretty remarkable was happening behind the scenes. An insurance policy, a massive piece of infrastructure built 4 decades ago for this exact kind of doomsday scenario, was being switched on.
And this brings us to an incredible solution, a strategic bypass that was built for the very crisis the world is facing right now. It's really a story of some amazing foresight.
You see, this petroline wasn't some quick fix they slapped together. It was commissioned way back in 1982, during the Iran-Iraq War, for the very reason that Saudi Arabia was worried Hormuz could get shut down. Fast forward to today, 2026, and this amazing piece of engineering is being ramped up to its full emergency capacity to keep the world's oil flowing. So what is it? Well, it's this massive, 746-mile-long artery. It basically takes crude oil from the fields in the east, right near the blocked Persian Gulf, and pumps it all the way across the Arabian Desert to the port of Yanbu on the Red Sea. It is a true continental bypass.
The whole process is really a masterpiece of logistics. Oil that would have been loaded onto tankers in the Gulf is now sent west, pumped across an entire desert, and then loaded onto totally different tankers on the Red Sea coast. This one maneuver completely bypasses the Hormuz choke point and is fundamentally redrawing the map of how Saudi oil gets to the rest of the world. So this strategic pivot is reshaping global trade routes right before our very eyes. We're looking at a completely new energy map being created in real time.
What this bypass really represents is a fundamental trade-off. The old route through Hormuz, it had a single catastrophic point of failure. This new route, well, it's not exactly risk-free, but it trades that one massive vulnerability for a series of smaller and hopefully more manageable risks.
And this isn't just a Saudi solution. The UAE has its own critical bypass pipeline that runs to the port of Fujairah, which cleverly sits just outside the Strait of Hormuz. Together, right now, these two pipelines are basically the only way to get large volumes of Gulf crude out in international markets. But
And this is a really big but. It's absolutely critical to understand that while these pipelines are a lifeline, they are not a cure-all. They are not a perfect solution for this crisis. They come with their own very serious set of limitations.
Yeah, because this new solution creates a whole new set of pretty complex problems. Shipping costs have absolutely skyrocketed. The new route through the Red Sea is still under threat from Houthi attacks. And, critically, this pipeline network only helps Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Other huge producers like Iraq, Kuwait, and Qatar, they're still completely cut off from the world.
And this just highlights the sheer scale of what's still unsolved. For all of its brilliance, the bypass system can only move so much oil. An estimated 10 million barrels of oil per day, oil the world desperately needs, is still trapped. The pipelines have really only solved about half of the crisis.
Which leaves us with this final, really thought-provoking question. We've seen how incredible foresight and engineering can create a lifeline when one is needed most. But in doing so, have we simply swapped one massive, well-understood risk for a whole new set of complex and unpredictable threats in one of the most volatile regions on Earth? And that question, right there, that's what defines the new reality of global energy security.